Welcome to Gold Coast Insider, where we bring you business insights, stories, opportunities and forecasts from movers and shakers across the Gold Coast. I'm your host, Estella Rodiguero. I'm CEO of Regional Development Australia Gold Coast. It's my pleasure today to introduce to you Chris Derksema. Chris leads the Gold Coast Waterways Authority through place-based planning, delivery and management of marine and land-based infrastructure that improves access, connections and destinations for the Gold Coast Waterways users and the community. Now, prior to joining Gold Coast Waterways Authority, Chris was the Sustainability Director at the City of Sydney, where he led the team to become the first carbon-neutral certified government organisation in Australia. He implemented decentralised energy and water grids, embedded climate resistance into an $8 billion asset portfolio and established globally leading industry partnerships. Chris has an environment engineering degree, an Executive MBA, and is the recipient of the Vincent Fairfax Leadership and Ethics Award. Oh, welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Estella.
Right. Well, I'm going to start because, Chris, I think you're a Queenslander from way back. I think we've drawn you back into Queensland. Is that right?
Absolutely. Look, actually, originally I was born in Perth, and that's probably where I established my love of the beaches. You know, we used to go to the beach before and after school and those types of things. But look, I went to high school and university, those really developmental years in Brisbane, and so I absolutely feel like Southeast Queensland is home.
Well, I'm glad you're back. I want to delve a little bit into, first and foremost, which I think is amazing, that you were Sustainability Director and becoming the first certified carbon local government in Australia, and you achieved 100% renewable energy. Can you talk me a little bit through that? That is amazing. And given that it's really topical now, and we're coming into the Olympics, and the Olympics is going to be the first carbon neutral Olympics there are. So it's becoming such a pertinent issue in this time. Can you talk me through how that eventuated? How did you do all that? Like, that's amazing.
Look, I think, way back when I did an environmental engineering degree, and so that was really a foundational piece of work to sort of understand how to make businesses and organizations more efficient and effective, not wasting materials, not wasting time, not wasting effort, and therefore producing more product and hopefully having a lower impact on the environment. And really that's been a common thread through my career. When I left Australia and I went traveling for a while when I was younger, and then I ended up in London and I worked for a consultancy there. And I ended up working for a large property company, and really sustainability was becoming an early stage issue when I was working there. And so I gained a lot of experience about how to integrate environmental and sustainability principles into large property companies. And that really allowed me that when I came back to Australia to sort of be a little bit ahead of the game. And so I became the founding technical manager for the Green Building Council of Australia. And that's gone from strength to strength as an organisation, developing Green Star tools and really helping to drive the sustainability industry forward. Now, the science has been around for many, many years, and like many changes, change takes a long time to happen, but then it happens very quickly. And I think we're in that stage where it feels like it's happening very quickly, but actually it's been there for a long time. And so, we follow the science. I wanted to create change in the world, and the opportunity at the City of Sydney came up, and I was very fortunate to be, appointed as the environmental officer there to start with. And through the great leadership of the Lord Mayor there, and also the CEO, was really given the opportunity to create a plan of how we were going to achieve what we felt was the real community imperative to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate against climate change.
That's amazing, because as I said, it's really topical now, and I guess it's something that you're bringing into your position with the Gold Coast Waterways Authority, which I'd like to go into a little bit later, further down. But to get an understanding of the Gold Coast Waterways Authority, it was first established on the 1st of December in 2012 to deliver the best possible management for the Gold Coast Waterways at a reasonable cost to government and community. Now, that's our waterways has expanded so much since 2012. Do you want to talk us through what do you cover at the authority?
Look, I think you touched on a few points there, but really the way I think about it is that we are the stewards of the waterways on behalf of the community and the environment.
Okay.
And so, in that role, we really have to understand the impacts, both and the opportunities. So it's a great recreation space. Everyone loves to get out in the water. People love to go for swimming, fishing, sailing, out in a boat, and so we need to make sure that opportunity is there for people. And really, our role is to try and create that in a safe way. So you mentioned before access, connection, and destinations as the three themes. So, we maintain all the boat ramps and the jetties and pontoons and build those and upgrade those.
How many do we have, Chris?
Oh, look, I think now that's a God, you've got me on the what's our unemployment number?
Yeah. Got it.
Look, we have a really strong network of boat ramps and jetties that really allow great access to the waterways, and we have to maintain those. We've got one of the highest boat ownership percentages around Australia in southeast Queensland here, and so people love to get out in the water. We've also got the largest jet ski retail shop in the world here in the Gold Coast as well. So people really love this. And look, a survey that GCWA undertook a couple of years ago showed that 81% of respondents said that the reason they moved to the Gold Coast is because of the waterways and the beaches. And so it's a really important part of the identity of the Gold Coast. And so, we really need to take care of that and make sure that we don't love it to death. That's the other thing as well. People love it. And so, our job is to maintain all the navigation network. So we do that through dredging as well. So we do the dredging around to keep those at a reasonable depth. We maintain all the navigation markers to keep it safe. We set speed limits. We determine on behalf of the community where buoy moorings and those types of areas should be in the network. But then we also maintain and manage the sand bypass system. So that allows the sand to continue up the coast and not to block the seaway and make the seaway shallow. So we manage that system as well, and that keeps that safe and navigable for all those recreational and commercial boat users that want to go out into the ocean.
But I think, do you guys also look after the lakes and dams, or is that another authority? Is that part of your
lakes and dams tend to be City of Gold Coast.
Okay.
But we work together, and we need an integrated approach to make it work, and especially on the issues like water quality and the like. The way that we maintain water quality in the Gold Coast waterways is through all the actions that are happening, on land, and that's the City of Gold Coast responsibility. But the other thing we do also, we do quick response, the pollution response. So, older vessels that may sink or maybe in an accident, there's sometimes fuel leakages and those types of things. And so we take out those absorbent booms and those types of things, and we contain any of those spills. So we're the first responder for that type of activity as well.
Chris, I wanted to.
Hey?
How do you do that? Like, is that a whole new process now around doing that? And is it a fast, quick result?
Yeah, look, we usually get a notification from the community in some way, like a phone call or something like that, and we quickly go out there. We take they're like little absorbent sausages in a way, and they go on top of the water. So we take them out in a boat, and we make a ring around the boat, and because the diesel floats on top of the water, it comes up, and then it's captured by these absorbent sort of sausages, and so we then try and find the root cause and try and stop that spill, of course. And then we work with Maritime Safety Queensland to sort of investigate and find out the cause of the issue, contain the issue, and then work out what to do in terms of mitigating that. So yeah.
So Chris, it must be quite a challenging role, given the growth in the boating and leisure boating, particularly on the Gold Coast. And I only need to look out to see that we've got a lot more houseboats or people living on boats. Then is that just me seeing them, or is that actually happening?
Look, there's two things happening there. Probably a couple of the biggest challenges for the Gold Coast waterways are the increasing population. And, we've got rapid population growth here in Southeast Queensland. Secondly, we've got with that also rapid tourism growth as well, and so more visitors to the Gold Coast. And then thirdly, the sort of underlying issue of climate change as well, and its impacts on storm frequency, sea level rise, and those types of things. Yeah. So they're probably the three sort of big drivers underneath. And so just with population and tourism, that means that, we're going to have more people out in the waterways. And during those beautiful sunny summer days when people want to get out there, that can cause congestion in the waterways and therefore safety concerns. And so part of our role is to set, appropriate speed limits to make sure that the channel network is navigable, that people have places to go, and we enhance destinations as well. And so there's a range of places that people can go and use. But that's really going to be the issue going forward, is how do we manage that with those increasing numbers? And so one thing that we're doing at the moment is actually looking to develop up a place strategy for the waterways. And so that will be a conversation with the community, with businesses as well, and with other government agencies, really just to develop a plan for the future. I think, I grew up in Southeast Queensland, so I know that the great enjoyment of just being able to do everything everywhere kind of thing. You get out in the boat, you go for an explore. But I think as we get more and more population and more tourists, we have to be a little bit more sophisticated about where preferred activities are undertaken within the waterways. So let's make sure that we conserve these places where families can go and build sandcastles on the beach with their on the water's edge with their kids, and maybe high energy activities of using jet skis and those types of things might be in slightly different areas as well, so that we keep separation between those type of things, keep it safe, and that also increases the amenity for people as well, really the enjoyment factor for people. We also, I think they're the main things from the people side. From the commercial side of things too, the waterways actually generate a huge amount of economic opportunity here in Southeast Queensland, so about $600 million worth in gross regional product. That's a large number, but really that's all the businesses, the fishing charters, the dive groups, the people out snorkeling, the Hoppo ferry service, all sorts of services that we add in the water, and also facilitating the Coomera marine precinct as well. So an area where there's a lot of boat building activity, and really that's become a world-renowned boat maintenance and building facility up there. So we have to help maintain that as well. And so we're starting out by doing an economic study, so understanding the Gold Coast Waterways economy, who's in it, how much do they generate, what are their issues, how can we facilitate and help them grow into the future. That's one layer of our place strategy. The second layer will be looking and talking to the community about, well, what do they want to do and be able to do into the future in the waterways? What do they love about the waterways? What do we need to conserve? What do we need to enhance? Those types of things. And then the third layer is looking at the environment as well. So understanding the water quality issues, where the seagrasses are, what the natural processes are of the waterways. And when we have those three layers well documented and understood, we can really achieve one of our overall sort of objectives, which is that balance. We don't want to have huge amounts of economic activity at the expense of the environment, but at the same time, we want to maximize the benefit for the community as well. So having those three layers allows us to understand the balancing act that needs to be had between those three in a public space. This is it's a public asset, and it's a fantastic public asset.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, so that's the process we're embarking on at the moment. Is just about to develop a summary of the Gold Coast Waterways economy, and then we're going to be engaging with the community, and then we're also going to be doing a State of the Waterways City type report as well.
So is that the Marine Stadium recreational use trial that you're undertaking? Is that what you're speaking to?
That's a really great example of a destination that we're looking to develop. So
okay.
So through consultation with the community, we heard that, look, it's a really great anchorage area for boats. And then because of that, historically, it has been kind of almost loved to death a little bit. And so other members of the community were really didn't feel like they could really use the space. And so you sort of had a misalignment between the community's expectations and how the space was being used. And so when we built the new pontoon and jetty in the northern end of Marine Stadium, we had to create an exclusion zone for the construction to keep the area safe. We then used that opportunity to continue the exclusion zone so that we could create what we're calling a recreational opportunity zone.
Yep.
And that's really prioritized for people on, stand-up paddleboards, people who want to go fishing or sailing and those types of things. And so it comes back to that word I said before about balance.
Yeah.
It's a great space. And so how do we get the balance right between the needs of boat users, the general public, and others? And so we've had some really positive feedback about that exclusion zone that we've created. It's really opened up the space for the general community.
Yeah.
And I think indicators are that it'll probably stay in the long term.
Yeah, and it's only going to get busier. We're only going to get more tourism. We're only going to get more boats. You've only got to talk to all the shipbuilders to know that. And of course, with the new jetty, the new super mega, what is it? The mega berth that Southport have got as well. That all brings increases, doesn't it? And I mean, that must put an impact on the dredging as well. For as we keep growing down there with the super yachts and everything else, that just puts more pressure on that whole piece about access.
Absolutely. So the super yacht berths are really important project, and that's at Southport Yacht Club. And we're seeing the redevelopment of many of the sites here at the southern end of the Broadwater going to include super yachts in their future development, the Ritz-Carlton and others. And so that's a great boost for the Gold Coast, that super yacht focus. But we also need to balance that with other opportunities in the marine tourism sector. So there needs to be space on the waterways for those marine tourism operators, the fishing operators, the jet boats, the other types of businesses that take people whale watching, that type of thing. They need a home as well. And so there's only a certain amount of space that's available on the waterways. And so that space needs to be appropriately proportioned for the different uses to get the best outcome for the Gold Coast. And
then you mix into that whole environmental piece, don't you?
Absolutely. And so
it's like a layering. So how do you juggle? It's all a juggle, isn't it, to try and get it all pieced together?
It sure is. And look, give you an example. When we do our dredging, we have very, very strict environmental controls around that. We do seagrass monitoring before and after, to make sure that we haven't damaged any of the local fauna. And look, in some cases where we do have to dredge and take out a little bit of seagrass, we are obligated to offset that and make sure that on balance that there is a better outcome from the Gold Coast waterways. And so we take the environmental side very seriously. And a lot of the businesses also require us to do that. Like, that's part of their proposition to their customers, that we can take you out and go and see a pristine environment with beautiful water quality. You can go snorkeling in really clean, clear waters. You can see great fish and great structure and those types of things. So it's actually part of the proposition here for the Gold Coast.
Is it a challenge now to keep the quality of the water or not? Is that a challenge?
Look, it definitely is. And look, during storm times, I think they're the biggest impact times. But we are lucky here at the Gold Coast that we don't have, like some other cities, a sort of a legacy heavy industry area which polluted the waterways. So we're starting from a good base, and also there's a report card that's done by Healthy Land and Water for various waterways throughout Queensland, and the Gold Coast always rates fairly strongly on that. And so we need to make sure that we don't work with this, or we need to work with the City of Gold Coast to make sure that there's not developments that may impact on that in the future. So we need to conserve that, and where we can, enhance that. And so when we go out and do the state of the environment reporting, I'm imagining that we might come up with actions that say, we could enhance fish numbers and populations in the local area. So we might start investing some of our money into structures that promote fish habitats, to do projects with other organisations to increase seagrass numbers, those types of things as well. So these things actually all work together to get that balance.
And I think we were talking about the Olympics, which isn't really, it's coming up really fast, and it's going to be the sort of carbon neutral. But when the Olympics happen here, we're going to be impacted. Okay, so I think that there's going to be such an increase down here as far as, our water, our boats, our shipping, our, the tourist as well, isn't there? So there's a really big impact to make sure that we get it right and that we go into the Olympics being prepared for all that.
Absolutely. And I think one of the ways we can do that is lead, we've got to lead by example. And so as an organization, we've committed to being carbon neutral by 2025, hopefully. And so we've been doing the work to become more efficient, to electrify all of our equipment where we can, to purchase renewable energy, and then offset what we can't. And so when we go through that process, we'll be able to become carbon neutral by next. We're hoping maybe by later this year or even next year. But I think you've got to clean up your own backyard before you can really have that conversation with authority, with other organisations. So then we would work with the waterways economy and all the businesses within that, and potentially develop a program that can assist them to achieve the same outcome. And that's really, I'm trying to bring some of the experience I had at the City of Sydney in establishing things like the Better Buildings Partnership and also the Sustainable Destination Partnership, which was actually a accommodation and tourism program working with that industry, people like this Sydney Opera House, the Sydney Theatre Company, all the hotel chains in the city. We could do a similar thing here at the Gold Coast. And really, as a collective, I think there is a huge power and momentum that can be created to achieve these outcomes. And they're the kind of things the Olympics are fantastic for, because they all give us a flag on the hill to kind of aim towards and motivate the organisations to work together. And I suppose what we found in Sydney is that while you might have individual actions by these organisations, when you bring that together as a collective, the promotional and marketing opportunities as a group are massive. And so on balance, it really is worth the effort by these organizations to take those steps that they probably will have to take anyway. Legislation is coming.
Yes.
Whether they have to do it, it's not an if, it's a when. So if you get out on the front foot and you work with others, this can be really a really strong feather in the cap of the Gold Coast in the lead up to the Olympics.
So what do you see, and I think we've probably spoken to most of them, but to encapsulate, what do you see as the challenges moving forward on the Gold Coast for our waterways, I guess? Or
look, I think, as I said before, the population and tourism increases and therefore creating congestion on the waterways. And then secondly, making sure that we can maximise the economic opportunities for businesses here at the Gold Coast at the same time. And so that getting that balance right is really the challenge, and that will be different in different parts of the waterways. So when we talk waterways, we're not just talking about the Broadwater, we're also talking about Tellabudgera Creek and Currumbin Creek, and then all the way north to the Logan River as well. So these are all different waterways. They have different local characteristics, and so they also have different opportunities. And so our place strategy will look at them as a full network in the first stage. But then in the second stage, we'll go more local, and we'll say what's the personality of this particular place, and how do we make sure that what the community love about that place gets conserved and protected and enhanced, but also where are the opportunities for growth or for greater public access. This is another thing too, providing access for all, so not just boat owners, but all types of people, and also including, those in wheelchairs and those types of things. How do we provide access to the waterways, and what are those opportunities? And, there's some great opportunities now, but we need to continue to move them forward. So one of them is is the Sam Bypass jetty that we have near the Seaway. That's actually wheelchair accessible. And so that gives an opportunity for people to go out into the surf zone, above the surf zone, and really experience that. It's quite a unique opportunity for people who may be in wheelchairs. And so they're the kind of things that we need to really enhance going forward. Yeah.
And so I was going to also ask you about the opportunities, which I think you touched on. If we're talking about, we just live in the most fabulous place. The air show has to show us that. I mean, where else could we have an air show over our ocean, over our water? and have all the boats out there able to see it and everyone on the beach able to see it. But our opportunities are there, aren't they? But it has to be managed in a sustainable manner. I mean, I have an expectation that if I go to the beach, I'm going to get these wonderful clean waters, and I'm not going to be harassed by jet skis, and I'm going to be able to go there, actually get access to it. So you're right. It's so layered, isn't it? It's managing.
Absolutely. And look, it really takes a partnership approach. We're going to do our best to manage the water side, but we really need to work with the City of Gold Coast to maximise that opportunity. The only way that you can utilise the water is getting there by land. And so, it's really important that we work with them. And so, parking and congestion is a big issue down here at the Gold Coast. And so, maybe we need to look at a stronger sort of cycling and walking network that connects the waterways into the suburbs. So we have these veins into the suburb, which allows people to get to the water easily. It gives them certainty that they can get there and not have to worry about parking because they've travelled there on their conventional bike or on their electric bike or whatever that might be, and that they can go and enjoy the water. And really, that gets to the essence of one of the reasons I took this job. I think, we all inherently get that sense of calmness and rejuvenation being close to the water. I always think of that sort of reaction we have when you splash your face with cold water, that your heart rate actually reduces about 10 beats per minute. And so it's got this absolute calming effect at a very, at a very visceral level, but also just having those long distance views out over the water, smelling that sea air, that is really a very strong, opportunity to improve people's mental health and keep people strong here at the Gold Coast. It's what makes people, happy at the end of the day, right? So, so that's one of the best parts of this job. That if we do our job well, we're improving the lives of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Gold Coasters.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. So it's been really great speaking with you, and I certainly know a lot more about the role of the Waterways Authority now after speaking with you. One question I'd like to ask there, you've came back after a 21-year hiatus away from our wonderful Queensland. What brought you back? What is it about the Gold Coast that you came back for, other than the job, but what is it that keeps you here?
Look, I've always enjoyed the Gold Coast. Even though I sort of lived in Brisbane, I was down here most weekends, enjoying the waterways and also enjoying the hinterland as well, going hiking, but enjoying, the Gold Coast. And so I have a real personal sort of love for the area, and the opportunity to work for an organisation that helps to, be the steward of that place was an amazing opportunity. I've got family here as well, so my mum still lives here at the Gold Coast, and I've got other close family here as well and friends, and so that was really, it's a big decision to move from Sydney back up here, and so there's always many factors to that, but really it's the place and the people.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. Thank you for taking the time. I can understand you're an incredibly busy person. And thank you for looking after our waterways. I'm looking out over it today and thinking, oh, it's just glorious, isn't it? Like, where would you want to live anywhere else in the world other than here? It's just fabulous. So thank you so much, Chris.
And thank you, Estella. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. And I hope that, listeners get a bit of a better view of the waterways and know that there's a whole team of people whose really their day job is to make sure that we take care of the thing that we all love here at the Gold Coast, which is the waterways. And so, if there's any feedback or any comments from people that they'd like to provide to us, we have a website just like most organisations, GCWA. .qld.gov.au, and people can email us, or there's a Facebook page, or they can call us directly, and we've got a very responsive team, happy to take comments as well.
Absolutely, Chris. And for the listeners, I'll be putting that at the bottom of all our social media on this podcast as well, so you can get in contact with Chris and his team. Look, thank you so much, Chris, for taking the time. Just wonderful to hear that whole sustainability piece coming into it as well. So good on you. Thank you.
Thanks, Estella.
Bye. Thanks for listening today. For a complete list of podcast episodes and transcripts, go to rdagoldcoast.org.au/podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter.